schon so, nicht meint mir hat geboren, die heftige dicke Gas. Bei Tate Mama euch gewinn a Kind.
I'm Jonathan Bonder, and this is my Holocaust project. I'm a very lucky person. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for this woman's courage, bravery, and patience. This woman is my grandmother.
My name is Sala Bonder.
What is your maiden name?
Solarz. Do you want me to spell it for you?
Yes, please.
S-O-L-A-R-Z.
When were you born?
I was born October 12, 1919.
Where did you live?
I was born in a little town very close to suburb of Warsaw.
Who are your family members?
My immediate family members were 6 children in the family, and I was the youngest of them. Then my father, this was the second marriage for my father. The first marriage, his wife died, were 3 children. In total, we were 9 people.
Did you have any aunts or uncles?
Yes, I did.
How many?
4. By the way, Jonathan, I waited for this for many, many years, hoping that one day a grandchild of mine is going to come and ask me some questions before memory fails me.
Who did you like most out of all your family members?
I like them all very dearly.
What school did you go to?
Public school and high school until the war.
Do you have any comments to add about your younger life?
My younger life was a very happy one. Happened to be the youngest of them all, and they all shared in upbringing me and showing me with lots of affection. Until I realized, when I grew a little older, I realized the anti-Semitic behavior of the people surrounding us, which means the Polish people, which were influenced by the Nazi Germany, and came to a point where we could not walk by ourselves, where they would, wherever they could, whichever way they could, they would hurt us physically, morally.
Did you have any friends that are non-Jewish?
Yes. In public school, I had quite a number of Polish children, which became very dear friends. However, there was never any question. The friends that I have were friends, and I was just a child like themselves. But later on, those children, for their own protection, just didn't know me anymore.
Do you know any of these children today?
No.
Did you ever live in the ghetto?
Yes, I lived in the ghetto, in the Warsaw ghetto, for a few months, and then I lived in Biała Podlaska, which is a town near the Russian border. I lived there for about a year with my family, with part of my family.
Where was the other part of your family?
Some were left in Warsaw ghetto, and because my parents did find themselves, we were sent out from Serotsk to Biała Podlask, and there the rest of the family were. I, for a short while, took off my yellow band and got myself to Warsaw to tell, because it was the only connection, to tell my other sister and brother who were in Warsaw ghetto where we are. And after I spent a few months in the Warsaw ghetto, and then I took off my band again and went as a non-Jewish person I got myself back to Biala Podlask.
Can you describe the conditions in the ghetto?
It's very hard to describe them, because at the time there was no food available, there was sickness, helplessness. One brother had a small child, and then another brother my sister-in-law gave birth to another baby, and conditions were very cramped and food very sparse. My mother, her portion, she would give to me and tell me she's not hungry.
Before you went to the ghetto, did any family try to take you in?
No.
Did you hear of any such cases in your town?
Not at all, not at all. As a matter of fact, after the liberation, or at least when I came to Canada, they start talking about the good deeds that some of the Polish people did. And the percentage, in my estimate, was maybe 1% or less.
Were you taken to the concentration camp?
Yes.
At what age?
I was at that time 20 and a half or something like that.
What were your emotions when you found out that you were going to be taken to the concentration camp?
Well, as a young person, among any of the other friends of mine at that time, I believed the stories that were circulating, that there are camps where people never come out from. I believed it, and when I finally got caught, when the train started moving, I jumped from a train and got back into the ghetto, because the Germans, what they did, they would send catch the people that they could, and the few who could hide themselves, after a week or so, they announced that it's safe to come out, that the ghettos opened again. So when I jumped from the train, I got back into the ghetto. And at that time, I was all by myself.
Which was the first concentration camp that you were taken to?
Majdanek, which is near Lublin in Poland.
Was that a work camp or a death camp?
That was a death camp, exclusively.
Was the rest of your family taken to the same concentration camp?
The rest of the family, when I jumped from the train, 2 brothers of mine were in a different place, and some of them, my mother included, was on the train. But because we were like cattle, we couldn't breathe. And I noticed, and I happened to stand nearby, and I saw that little window which used for cattle trains. I tried to climb up, but the people would pull me down and say, "Don't try to get up, because the Germans will come and kill us," without they didn't realize that we were going to the slaughter. However, I decided they are not going to kill me. I'm going to jump from the train and end it, not to get into their hands.
Did any of your family survive?
No.
Can you describe the conditions in the concentration camp?
Well, Majdanek was a complete, all the concentration camps were essentially death camps. Majdanek was a terrible thing. They would beat us mercilessly all the time, no food. And when they once picked 1,000 young women for a transport, they did not say where they are taking us or what they are taking us. And we went through an inspection, And I didn't go through the inspections. They wouldn't let me go with 1,000 people because they felt I was too thin. You know, I was, in Germany they called it Muselmann, which was skeleton. But I was convinced that I want to go with the transport. So I got myself through, you know, when the Germans didn't look, I went to the other side, and 10,000 people were sent to Auschwitz.
Do you regret going there?
I don't know if I regret. No person wants to be dead when they, at that time, you didn't think of life. It's just a question of survival another day or what.
How did you escape from the concentration camp?
I did not escape. I was in Auschwitz until the liberation, and just before the liberation, when the Russians came near, they took us out of Auschwitz. We walked, and then by train, deep into Germany, into the biggest camp called Ravensbrück. From Ravensbrück, and there were thousands and thousands of people, no food, no washing facilities, no life. From there, they took us in smaller numbers to smaller little camps, and finally they took us on the road, on the highways, through the woods, because at that time the Russians were very close by, but we didn't know that. And it was terrible that walking, but 2 weeks we walked among the armory and bullets. And at night we would stop for a couple hours just to rest, with the Germans of course. And one night it was so cold and so bitter that when we stopped, we would sit one on top of the other, you know, and the one who was underneath was the warmest. We'd huddled to survive, and I couldn't take it, and I went over to a German, and I said, I spoke German, I do speak German, I said, kill me, I don't want to live anymore, I can't take it. What he said to me, you have more to live for than I do. Next day, when it was early morning, whoever slept, and all of a sudden we looked around, there were no Germans. So we didn't know what's happening. And we all started walking. We were a few hundred people, and we started walking towards unknown territory through woods and fields. And we noticed, you know, 1 or 2 farmers, German farmers, and we asked them what's happening, and they told us the war is over. That's the way I was liberated.
Did you get numbers put on your arm?
Yes. When we came to Auschwitz, yes. My number is 247 269.
That means you're approximately the 247,000th person?
Right.
Did they put the numbers on your arm against your will?
There was no question of fighting. Once you were in the camps, you were a number. You weren't a person. They dressed you in some Russian, where they killed the Russian soldiers, the enemy. They put their clothes. They give us to put on the clothes and wooden shoes. They cut off our hair. Can you imagine how I looked? So in effect, you weren't a person anymore, and they didn't treat you as such.
Do you know where the rest of your family died?
I don't know exactly where. Obviously, Majdanek, Treblinka, that's on the way to Treblinka where I jumped. No, I never got any more contact with anybody.
Do you still hate Hitler for what he did?
Not only do I hate Hitler,